Hi everyone, today we're going to be reviewing two-step equations with decimals and fractions. I took some of the problems from Khan Academy lesson. This way you can more or less look at the format and you can guide yourself to understand two-step equations. So the first problem we're going to look at here is a fraction problem. And the nice thing about this is that if you start to notice the denominators of the fraction of 2/3 and 7/3 is the same, which means I would not have to look for a common denominator. So let's go ahead and begin. One of the things that we can go ahead and do on this problem is divide the equation. So I'm going to go ahead and start by dividing the equation. Remember, it has two sides. And the first thing I want to do is I want to get rid of this because I want to solve for m. So I need to isolate m eventually. So 2/3 needs to be moved over to this side. So we're going to go ahead and use inverse operation. So I'm going to do minus 2/3. And I'm going to cross that out because that's gone. And I'm going to go ahead and do minus 2/3 on this side. And I can solve that. And once I solve this, 7/3 minus 2/3, you get 5/3. 5/3. Again, the nice thing about these fractions is that the denominators are equal. They're the same, 3. Therefore, you just have to do 7 minus 5, which is, 7 minus 2, which is 5, and your denominator remains the same. So let me go ahead and bring down my equal sign. And the only thing that I have left on this side is m/9. Now, keep in mind that the coefficient of m is 1. And in order for me to get rid of a fraction, I need to multiply by the reciprocal. And the reciprocal of 1/9 is times 9/1, which gives me 1 eventually, and that cancels. So I'm multiplying times 9, so now I have m left over. And whatever I do to one side, I'm going to go ahead and do it to the other. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply times 9/1 on this side as well. And that's my dot for multiplication. So 5 times 9 is 45. So I'm just going to go ahead and write my answer here on this side for now. And 3 times 1 is 3. And 45 divided by 3 is 15. And that is my final answer. M equals 15. Now, one other step that you can do is you can check your answer. And that's the beauty about two-step equations. You can actually take that 15 and plug it into that m, and you will have 15/9. And if you simplify 15/9 here, you will get 3, divided by 3, you will get 5/3. And 5/3 plus 2/3 is actually 7/3. So my answer checks. I did all that mentally, but you can go ahead and write it down and you can see that 15 does check, has an answer choice. You don't have to check your answer all the time, but if you are unsure of your answer for that variable, you can always go ahead and do your checkpoint. Next one. Now we have here a decimal. Steps are always the same, so you're going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and change colors here. We're going to go ahead and divide our fraction. I'm sorry, not our fraction, but our equation. And we're going to go ahead and we have plus 0.6. So we're going to go ahead and do minus 0.6. And whatever I do to one side, I do it to the other. So minus 0.6. And this cancels out, and I can actually go ahead and solve 2 minus 0.6, and that's going to give you 1.4. And remember that that 2, just to give you a little bit of decimals, this would be 2.0 here, 2.0. Borrow, you have 10. 10 minus 6 is 4. 1 minus 0 is 1, and that's how I got 1.4. Now bring down what you have on your other side left. So you have n over 5. And again, same concept. Your coefficient here is 1. And I can just go ahead and multiply by 5 here. Times 5. And that cancels out. Times 5 on the other side. And 1.4 times 5 is actually 7. So n is equal to 7. And that is my final answer here. Once again, if you want to check this, you can go ahead and plug it in. N equals 7, so you will have 7 over 5. And 7 over 5 plus 0.6, you would have to add that up. You're going to find out that 7 over 5, if you divide that, it's actually 1.4. And 1.4 plus 0.6 turns out to be 2, which is your answer here. So you can go ahead and check that yourself, and this is correct. Moving on to our next two problems. So I went ahead and I did another decimal. Right here, we have another decimal with a coefficient of -3 here, so it's a little bit more challenging. And then we have a fraction left. So we're going to go ahead and start once again. We're going to do the decimal. We're going to go ahead and divide our equation. So we go to minus 2.5 minus 2.5. And I cancel that out already. So 4 minus 2.5, you can go ahead and line it up. Remember, 4 is the same thing as 4.0. And 4.0 minus 2.5 is going to give you 1.5. And I know some of you can't do this mentally. Technically, these are easy operations with decimals. You should be able to do this mentally. But if you want to review and you're lacking these skills, you can always go ahead and make sure you line up your decimals, subtract, and so forth. Bring down what you have left, -3b. Now I have multiplication here. Remember, whenever there's a number in front of a variable, that means multiplication. So -3 times b, what number can b be? And will give me 1.5. So easy. Let's go ahead and just divide by -3. Opposite operation, divide by -3. B is what you have left over on this side of your equation. B equals 1.5 divided by -3. You have -0.5. And there is your final answer. Last one. So we're going to get rid of this fraction. We're going to go ahead and divide our equation, getting rid of 1/4 minus 1/4. Whatever you do to this side, you do it to the other, minus 1/4. Look how nice this worked out. 5/4 minus 1/4 is actually 4 over 4. And 4 over 4 is equal to 1. So 1 is on this side. 1 is equal to -4 over c. That's what we have on this side. We're going to go ahead and divide by -4. That cancels. And whatever you do to one side, you do it to the other. So I'm going to go ahead and just erase this. And remember here, our answer was 1. So our final answer is c is equal to 1 over -4. Perfect. And that is your lesson for today on decimals and fractions, two-step equations.